Percy Montgomery salutes Rassie Erasmus' genius, leadership, and legacy, and reveals the lighter side of a Springbok mastermind. Few figures loom as large in the modern history of South African rugby as Rassie Erasmus. Architect of 2 Rugby World Cup triumphs, restorer of belief in the Springbok jersey, and pioneer of a new professional era within SA rugby, Erasmus has become synonymous with innovation, resilience, and relentless competitiveness. But long before he was a global coaching icon, Erasmus was a teammate, a thinker, a strategist, and according to Percy Montgomery, the victim of some good-natured mischief. Speaking candidly on the Behind the Ruck podcast, Springboks legend Montgomery offered a rare insight into the man behind the mastermind, reflecting on their shared playing days, their coaching collaboration, and the traits that made Erasmus stand out long before the world truly noticed. From teammates to history makers, Montgomery and Erasmus share a bond forged in one of the most successful eras in Springbok history. Both were integral members of Nick Mallett's iconic Springbok side, which set a then world record with 17 consecutive Test victories between 1997 and 1998, a streak that helped redefine South Africa's standing in the international game. While Montgomery dazzled with his composure, precision goal-kicking, and reliability at the back, Erasmus operated as a cerebral forward, always analyzing, always questioning, always looking for marginal gains before that phrase became fashionable. Their relationship extended beyond the playing field. After hanging up his boots, Montgomery went on to work with Erasmus in a coaching capacity, witnessing firsthand how his former teammates' mind translated seamlessly into leadership. But as Montgomery reveals, Erasmus' aura of authority did not mean he escaped the dressing room banter. There was something about Rassie. Reflecting on those early days, Montgomery made it clear that Erasmus stood apart. Even then, there was something about Rassie that you just knew he was different, Montgomery said. That difference wasn't rooted in volume or bravado. Erasmus wasn't the loudest voice in the room. Instead, his influence came from clarity, conviction, and credibility. He was always the analyst in the team. That's what stood out, Montgomery explained. And when he spoke, everyone listened. Players recognized that Erasmus didn't speak for the sake of it. When he offered insight, it was grounded in preparation and foresight. Even among seasoned internationals, his rugby intellect commanded respect. Yet, like all teams of that era, the Springboks environment still carried an element of old-school camaraderie, and Erasmus was not immune. The bananas and the blazer in a moment that humanized one of rugby's most formidable figures, Montgomery revealed a prank that became something of an inside joke. I still remember he had those crooked fingers, and he hated fruits, Montgomery laughed. So he used to put bananas in his blazer. It was classic late 90s rugby humor. Playful, mischievous, and reflective of a time when professionalism was still evolving. We joked around a lot back then, Montgomery said. But it's not like it is today. They are professionals. That contrast between eras is something Montgomery emphasized repeatedly. While the Springboks were technically professional during his playing days, the structures, expectations, and standards pale in comparison to the environment Erasmus later helped build. From semi-professional to elite standards, Montgomery is quick to acknowledge that while his generation laid important foundations, Erasmus has taken South African rugby into a different stratosphere. I mean, we were professionals, but it was still very semi-professional, he explained. So there's a big difference. That difference, Montgomery believes, is one of Erasmus' defining achievements. Long before he was appointed head coach, Erasmus understood where global rugby was heading and what South Africa needed to do to keep pace. He made it very clear that if you want to become a Springbok, you can't do all those shenanigans that went on back in our days. This insistence on discipline, accountability, and alignment across all levels of the game has become central to Erasmus' legacy. But coach, years ahead of his time, Montgomery's admiration for Erasmus is not rooted solely in recent success. He traces Erasmus' influence back more than a decade to his involvement in the Springbok coaching setup during the Peter de Villiers era. I was at Rassie's wedding, man. We were mates, Montgomery recalled. He was part of the 2011 coaching team overseeing the rugby when Peter de Villiers was still there. Even then, Erasmus was thinking differently. He was scheming a long time ago. He was way ahead, Montgomery said. He went overseas to see what the other teams were doing. Those overseas trips, research missions, and knowledge exchanges would later become hallmarks of Erasmus' approach. Rather than relying solely on tradition, he sought best practice wherever it existed, turning the tide for South African rugby. By the time Erasmus took the reins of the Springboks, South African rugby was at a crossroads. Results were inconsistent, public confidence was fragile, and questions lingered around professionalism, alignment, and player welfare. What he has done is just unbelievable, Montgomery said. Because SA Rugby was struggling with professionalism and that kind of thing, under Erasmus, those issues were confronted head-on. Central contracting, player rotation, squad depth, and data-driven selection became cornerstones of a new era. The way they have lifted their game, so the players can lift, it's amazing how they have evolved. That evolution culminated in Rugby World Cup victories in 2019 and 2023, cementing Erasmus' place among the most influential coaches in the sport's history. The power of depth. If there is one aspect of Erasmus' tenure that Montgomery believes truly sets South Africa apart, it is depth. What has impressed me the most, Montgomery said, is how Erasmus and his coaching team have managed to build depth. Unlike previous eras, where the Springboks relied heavily on a settled 15, Erasmus has cultivated a system where rotation is not only accepted but embraced. Rassie can say now, "We've got a 45-man squad," Montgomery explained. "We've got an A, B, and C team. That depth is not theoretical, is proven. South Africa can rest frontline players without compromising performance, a luxury few international sides possess." And Montgomery's assessment prompted a memorable response from podcast co-host and former box center Juan de Jong. "You said it's A, B, and C," de Jong replied, "but I think it's more A, and A." Montgomery couldn't disagree. "That's it exactly," he said. The next guy just steps in. This seamless transition between players is perhaps the ultimate reflection of Erasmus' system-driven philosophy. Individuals matter, but the structure matters more. From provinces to the Springboks, Montgomery also highlighted how this depth is mirrored at franchise level, particularly within the URC. "You look at the Stormers, and they're doing exactly the same," he said. "Half the guys are youngsters, and I can't keep up with all the Oaks, which is great to see." This production line, from schoolboy rugby to provincial teams, to the Springboks, and even the Blitzboks, is something Montgomery believes is uniquely South African at present. You look at it from schoolboy rugby to provincial, and it's going to our national team, and then the Blitzboks. The alignment across formats and levels ensures that players are prepared for the demands of Test rugby long before they earn their first cap, a legacy beyond trophies. While the trophies will forever define Erasmus' era, Montgomery's reflections reveal a deeper legacy, one rooted in mindset, culture, and standards. Erasmus is not just a winning coach. He is a system builder, a modernizer, and a leader who understood that success at the top requires excellence everywhere else, from analyzing opponents as a player, to scheming as a young coach, to revolutionizing how South African rugby operates. Erasmus' journey has been marked by foresight and courage, and yet, as Montgomery's Banana in the Blazer story reminds us, he remains human, shaped by friendships, humor, and shared history. Full circle for Montgomery. Watching Erasmus' success is both a source of pride and affirmation. He saw the signs early. He shared the field, the change room, and the journey. And now, he sees the results, not just on the scoreboard, but in the strength and sustainability of South African rugby. From crooked fingers and pranks to World Cups and global respect, Rassie Erasmus' story is one of evolution. And according to one of the Springboks' greatest ever servants, it was always clear that he was destined for greatness, even when his blazer was full of bananas.